Hi there, and welcome back to Restore. Today we're in chapters 23 and 24 of Proverbs, where we continue working our way through the 30 sayings of the wise that began in chapter 22. These sayings are a modified version of the teaching of a Menemope, which is an Egyptian wisdom text designed to give people involved in public service advice for how to carry out their duties effectively. Now, for obvious reasons, the compiler of the Proverbs has replaced all the references to the Egyptian gods that were found in the original document with references to Yahweh, the one true God. Now we might feel a little bit concerned that this pagan wisdom text has seemingly found its way into our Bible. But do we need to be? Well, no, I don't think so. Because we serve a God who is Lord over all of life and all nations, whether they know it or not. And so we're free to draw wisdom wherever we find it, from all different cultures, and turn it to godly purposes. The 30 sayings encourage us, like so much of Proverbs, to use our common sense. Though they may seem random and unconnected, they can pretty much be grouped under 3 headings. There are those sayings that encourage us to heed wise advice and steer clear of unhealthy influences, those that remind us of God's involvement in our lives and service, and those that stress the moral demands of leadership and the dangers of self-indulgence and the abuse of power. While the 30 sayings were originally written for leaders and rulers, the Holy Spirit has inspired their inclusion in Proverbs because they can be of benefit to all of us, whatever our station or role in life is. The Hebrew word for proverb is mashal, which means a ruling, and the idea is that if we absorb the wisdom of these sayings, we too can make wise rulings for our lives. There are lots of things that we could draw out of the 30 sayings, but there are 1 or 2 I want to focus on today. In saying 12, we see that true wisdom involves not just the ears, but the heart as well. Yes, we should listen to good advice as often as we can get it. Victory is won through having many advisors. But if we are not humble enough to receive it, then all the sound advice in the world will do us little good. This theme is continued in sayings 14, 15 and 16, and we get the sense that the condition of our hearts should really concern us. Have we set them on the right path? Just as what we hear can influence our heart, out of the wisdom or lack of wisdom maybe, in our hearts, our lips speak. Jesus says something very similar, doesn't he? When he says that a good man speaks good things out of the goodness in his heart, whilst an evil man speaks evil because that's what's in his heart. So let's examine our hearts. What condition are they in? Saying 23 tells us that the fool does better to be silent than to open their mouth. And saying 10 that there's no point speaking to a fool because in effect they will drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. The bottom line is that we need wisdom before we can speak wisely. But how do we get it? Well, right at the start of Proverbs, we learn that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And saying 15 reminds us of that, telling us to be zealous for the fear of the Lord. So let's be asking God to give us a sense of who he is, who he really is, in all of his majesty and glory. Because when we see who he is, we gain a sense of perspective about who we are too. More than that, we gain a future hope, a hope that will not be cut off. Proverbs is an infinitely realistic book. And whilst it teaches that hard work and righteous living are good rules for life, it never ignores the reality that lazy and evil people seem to flourish regardless of this. But however well such people seem to be doing in this life, however much they benefit from their wickedness, saying 29 reassures us that they have no future hope. The God who sees all will one day judge all. But in contrast, those who fear the Lord, those who are truly wise, will have their hopes fully realised on that day.